On today's episode of Adventures of Lamati, I'm going to show you how to juggle 3 cultures during Christmas. Hello Liebelings, I'm Madi, author of the space opera The God Queen, who's been living in southern Germany since 2014. We're going to talk about the fact that tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and my parents are actually arriving as we speak to Germany to spend Christmas with my husband and I and my in-laws. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. That lets me, YouTube, and Roxy know that you like content like this and you want to see more. Here on Adventures of Lamati, we talk about writing, living abroad, and everything in between. So today I'm going to talk about how I reconcile 3 cultures during the holiday season. It's actually not that difficult because a lot of things overlap. So I actually do want to spend today's episode talking about differences, because there are a few. I will try to put a flag on the bottom of the screen somewhere. I'm not sure where yet. I'll figure that out in editing to let you know what culture I'm talking about, whether it is Peruvian, American, or German. Basic traditions. Advent candles. There are 4 candles that are lit on each Sunday leading up to Christmas. It is mainly a German tradition. We don't really see that in the States, except with American Catholics, as I am an American Catholic. Our church does that, so they always mark each weekend of Advent. So I guess when the churches do it, that counts, right? Advent calendars. Now, Advent calendars have been coming more and more to the States. They are obviously very traditional in Germany, where, you know, every day, like from the 1st of December till the 24th, you can open little doors or you can open little bags, and each one has a treat or a chocolate or whatever. You can sit down. And you do that leading up to Christmas. And so we always have one. My husband usually gets a Haribo one because the one thing he loves just as much as me is his Haribo Gummibärle, his gummy bears. I usually get a tea themed one, but this year I actually went for a pug themed makeup from Fresh, which is pretty awesome. And Roxy even got one this year, didn't you, Roxy? Yeah. Sorry, I had to take off her collar because she kept chewing on it. So yeah. There's also St. Nicholas. So in the States, St. Nicholas is another name for Santa Claus, but in Germany, he is actually a separate saint, and his day is December 6th. So on the evening of December 5th, children leave out shoes or boots or whatever outside for St. Nicholas to come by and to fill them with sweets or with fruit or whatever, as long as that they were good children. My boss actually on the 6th came by and gave us all oranges to thank us for being such well-behaved children this year. It was pretty awesome. St. Nicholas is also accompanied by, depending on where you are, whether like in Austria or Bavaria, there's a Campus, or here in Baden-Württemberg is Knecht Ruprecht. And their job is to come and to take all of the bad children, the misbehaved children, and throw them into sacks and take them away. So that is, again, it's dependent on what area of Germany or Austria or this, German-speaking regions you are. My husband has definitely threatened our nephews with one or the other, Campus or Knecht Ruprecht. If they keep misbehaving, that we'll make sure that they get taken away. It's a little bit more scary than the lump of coal we tell American children that they'll get from Santa Claus for not behaving, for being on the naughty list. So all these traditions I have named up to this point, we don't have those in Peru, by the way. This is very Germany, and a lot of ways Americans, especially in my region, because a lot of Germans settled in my region, so a lot of those things have carried over. So we'll continue on. Christmas markets. They're very much a German thing, a German tradition, and actually in recent years I've noticed how much they really exploded in the United States, which is great because it's one of my favorite traditions. However, there's one thing they don't have in the States, which I think the US is missing out, which is, of course, you have Glühwein, so mulled wine, warm mulled wine, but here in Germany we have like Glühwein on steroids, which is called Feuerzangenbowle. And what that is so you can have actually a huge punch bowl, or sometimes when you go to a Christmas market, they'll put in your individual cups. They will put a lump of sugar, or if it's a big punch bowl, be a huge cone of sugar that has been soaked in either rum or brandy. Then it is, placed just above the the glühwein, and it is set on fire. And the fire, and then it causes the sugar to caramelize and drip into the glühwein. It is really good, but it is really strong. So that's something like, if you have like one Feuerzangenbowle, that's enough. Also, in terms of Christmas markets, I mean, like I said, we have them in the States, but after experiencing the real thing in Germany, they kind of pale in comparison. I'm actually excited because later today we'll be taking my parents to the Christmas market in Rotenburg op der Tauber, which is by far one of my favorites. But I think actually the one in Lindau is like the top. But what's your favorite Christmas market? Let me know in the comments below. Christmas music. So this one I can touch on a little bit with Peruvian. Of course, American films in general have told us more than what the rest of the world really needs to know on like favorite American Christmas music. For me personally, most of my favorite Christmas songs are played in Home Alone, which is also very popular here in Germany, is known as Kevin allein zu Hause. That also shows on the 24th every year. And of course, my favorite is also White Christmas by Bing Crosby, and that has not really reached Germany, so it was actually really cool my first Christmas here where I got to introduce White Christmas to my husband and watch him like experience it for the first time. A tradition I do miss is caroling. I haven't really seen that here in Germany, but when I was living in the States, especially when I was still living in Indianapolis, one of the girls in the fellowship group, she would organize a caroling night. So we would go, sometimes we go to like a old folks home or other like community centers, and we would just sing carols. We also go house to house, and that was so much fun because we were all like show choir kids, theater kids in general, and it was fun. It was another way to perform as well as to give back to the community. It was great. I don't know if caroling does exist in Germany. Let me know in the comments below, German audience, if you do have carolers, maybe in the bigger cities. I don't know, out here in the country, we don't really see that. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below. So with Latinos, we do have our own music. I mean, of course, there's like the Spanish version of typical English songs like Jingle Bells or Silent Night, but like we have the most popular one is Mi Burrito Sabanero, Los Peces en el Río, Pastores Venid, A la Nanita Nana, and was it Campana? Yeah, Campana sobre Campana. In terms of German Christmas music, we have, of course, O Tannenbaum, which I'm sure there are plenty of people in the US that also know this song because we sing it as well. But of course, there are the German versions of what we know in the States. Is, you know, there's Silent Night or Jingle Bell. So Silent Night is Stille Nacht. There's also Süße die Glocken nicht klingeln, nie klingeln. Süße die Glocken nicht klingeln. O du Fröhliche. Ihr Kinderlein kommet, und leise rieselt der Schnee. I know there's probably a lot more when it comes to music between American, Peruvian, and German. Let me know what your favorite Christmas songs are. Let me know in the comments below. This will be Roxy's first Christmas, so I don't know if she has a favorite, but I can imagine her favorite will be Mi Burrito Sabanero. Con mi burrito sabanero voy camino del verde. Yeah, you like that one, yeah. So, Mi Burrito Sabanero, yeah? So in terms of Christmas, like with Santa Claus, Germany has der Weihnachtsmann, or the Christmas man. In Peru, there is Papa Noel, El Santa Claus. And there's also Los Reyes Magos, the three magical kings. Actually, you do see that more in Spain. My host mom, when I lived in Spain back in 2008, it was right after Three Kings Days when I arrived, and the grandkids didn't get Christmas presents from Santa Claus. They got it from the Three Kings, so they actually got theirs on January 6th. So Christmas trees. For the most part, Americans go for fake Christmas trees. I know some go for the real ones, but in my family, at least, we almost all do fake. And usually we put them up like literally the minute after Thanksgiving is over. But now I have been seeing more and more, a lot of them are starting to even like right before Thanksgiving start putting up their Christmas trees, just because, you know, the Christmas season is very important. Of course, it only goes until the 25th. Now, in Germany, they usually put the Christmas tree, most of them do real trees, and usually they put the trees up maybe the date like on the 24th itself, or maybe shortly before. Today being the 23rd, we actually put our Christmas tree up about 2 days ago, but that's because in Germany, the Christmas holidays goes until January 6th, which is Three Kings Day. So everything in the US like before the 24th, and in a lot of Europe and you know, I think even in South America, kind of goes from Christmas on into the beginning of the year. So, and besides using real trees, Germans a lot of times also use real candles instead of stringed lights like in the States. There are special type of candles that are about like this big, and they only last for maybe about 5 minutes. They're like their burn time. It is a health hazard, so of course people do it, you know, when they're home, but it is beautiful. It looks utterly beautiful. Our lights on our Christmas tree here, we don't use candles, but our lights are in the shape of candles. So it still gives the same feeling without the fear of our house burning down. Though in Germany, they have a tradition, well, it's actually not all over Germany, but in our region, it's very popular. It's my favorite. It's my favorite tradition. It's called Christbaumlob. And what you do is you go to someone's house, you see their tree, and the first thing you say is, "What a beautiful tree." Because that's German code for, "You give me schnapps." And that's what happens. You say that and magically schnapps will appear. I've actually realized after about 5 years of living in Germany, there are quite a few German phrases that mean the same thing. I think I should probably make a video about that, but that will be later. The important thing is during Christmas time, you go to someone's house and you just say, "Oh, what a beautiful Christmas tree." Because then you'll be gifted with schnapps. Peruvians also put up Christmas trees. The actual when, I'm not entirely sure. At least in our house, we also did it right after Thanksgiving. Though, of course, in Peru, I've actually spent but the last time I was in Peru was for Christmas and for New Year's. Pine trees are not native to South America, so it is definitely a tradition they have adopted from the US. I will say it is very disorienting because Christmas time for them is during the summer, so it was really weird for me, like going down there and having to wear like short sleeve shirts, and then like the next day go to the pool with my family and get like a horrible sunburn. Like that's so not Christmas for me. Like it was weird not having a white Christmas, like a cold Christmas. So we got a lot of the basics out of the way. So now let's go for the days themselves. So we'll start with the 24th. So for Peruvians and for Germans, the 24th is kind of the more important family day that's leading up to the birth of Christ. So for both sides, the German and the Peruvians, we usually go to church and we come home and we have a nice dinner. And for Germans, the traditional dinner is usually raclette, which is kind of like a table oven where you have these little trays and you have a special cheese, raclette cheese, that melts, and then you put it on bread and you eat it, and it's great, and it takes forever to cook, but whatever. It's all about, you know, being with family. Peruvian tradition dictates that we eat turkey, and of course because well, I'll get to it in a moment, but we eat turkey, but we also eat turkey at like 10 p.m. In terms of American food, that's always really hard in my experience, mostly because, you know, the US, somebody called me out in my food video, which they had absolutely right to call me out on. I didn't actually talk about American food, and that's because American food usually is based off of food from a different culture. So it's kind of hard to be like, oh, this is American food, except for like burgers. There's also like American version of pizza, but that's Italian. There's American version of Chinese food. That's very different from actual Chinese food, but you know what I mean? Like everything that you consider traditionally American usually has come from somewhere else. So it's just whatever your family eats. That's what's the traditional Christmas food. Continuing on the 24th, for our nephews, it's actually, you know, of course, they really look forward to opening presents. So usually after dinner and watching a little bit of Kevin Alonso House, we then open presents on the 24th. In Peru, presents are opened at midnight, but we mark it by, you know, we have our nativity scene, and the children then take a moment to find the baby Jesus somewhere in the house and put the baby Jesus in the nativity scene. That was actually like my favorite tradition. I was in charge of the nativity scene at home, so I got to decorate it and everything, and yeah, and I got to put the baby Jesus in. So it was, yeah, that was always a fun tradition. And also, when I was younger, we weren't allowed to watch TV or to listen to the radio or anything. We were pretty much dressed to the nines because we had also, you know, come back from church, and we were expected to sit down and talk and have family time. And I remember I still have vivid memories of being 8 years old and hating that. But now with our family, we usually there's TV going on somewhere. But it is still, you know, family time while we wait till the clock strikes midnight. As Americans go, like I said, it's not really that important of a day, but in my family it was rather important. I have half siblings. I am the youngest of 6, and the 24th used to be the day that they would come over and we would have brunch. So it would always be like brunch in the morning, and then later on in the evenings I would spend it with the Peruvian relatives. Because, I mean, my siblings all have families now and we're all over the place. The 24th doesn't always work, so it's sometime around Christmas when we do our family time together. But when I was growing up, the 24th was always easier, and that's kind of how I always associate it. But like I said, Americans don't really, I feel like because it's still kind of a working day in the States, so most are still actually working. Now on the 25th, that is all across the board, that's a family day. With the American side, usually the day I'm just hanging out with my parents. We're in PJs and we have leftovers from the day before, and usually my dad gets a whole bunch of movies for Christmas, so we just binge watch TV all day. It's pretty awesome. On the Peruvian side, usually it means we go out and visit other family members and probably go to church again, because especially if the 25th falls on a Sunday, then you definitely have to go to church again, because it only counts if you go to church on a Sunday. On the 25th, it's also a family day. In fact, that's the day where all of my husband's brother and sister and their families will be coming over, and usually we eat duck that my mother-in-law will make. However, this year, with my parents being here, my dad's not a big fan of bird, so turkey and duck and chicken are usually out of the question, so we're going to introduce my parents to rouladen, and we will be mixing that with papalawang kaina. So it'll be a little German, a little Peruvian, and I do plan on making some pisco sour as well. But then of course, you know, what's playing on TV? When it comes to Peruvians, usually it's whatever's popular in the States. So Peru is very much influenced by American culture. So having their own traditional Peruvian movies, I don't know if any. Mostly it's just whatever is popular from the States. Now in Germany, they play every year. It's the classic Romy Schneider film Sisi, which is about the Bavarian princess who became the Empress of Austria. It is based on a true story, but it is highly romanticized. This movie was made in the 50s, and it's such a sweet, like, saccharine to the point of getting a toothache film, but it's an awesome film. I actually first heard about these movies when I was in high school, because they actually showed the Sisi films in Peru, and my mom loves period films, and the costumes of this movie are stunning. Even by today's standards, are stunning. So I knew about the Sisi films years before I even moved to Germany. They also play the classic Feuerzangenbowle, which I've referred to before, you know, the Glühwein on steroids. So this is a story of a famous writer who is sitting around, you know, with his friends, and they're drinking Feuerzangenbowle, and his friends are teasing him and telling him how much he's missed out on the high school days because he was homeschooled. So he decided, I think it was on a bet, that he will masquerade as a student and see how well he can fool everyone. And I will admit the story does get a little creeptastic when he's like hitting on one of the high school girls, but this movie was made in like 1944. You know, whatever. It didn't necessarily age well, but it's still a very entertaining film. And if you are interested, I actually have a link to the entire film below, though I don't think it has subtitles. And it definitely, of course, is in German. But if you don't mind, then totally check it out. As for the US, I mean, the Americans are like, yeah, hello. There's, you know, the Hallmark and the Disney Channel, you know, will show like every single day different Christmas movies. But at least in my opinion, for the German audiences, if you want to know what, again, in my opinion, what good Christmas movies to watch, I have a list here. I have It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, which is very important because I'm from Indiana and the movie takes place in Indiana. White Christmas, of course, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, which Germans of course know, Miracle on 34th Street, The Santa Claus, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but the cartoon version, honestly. The Jim Carrey live action, that's okay, but the old school one, that's just, it's classic. And then, of course, let's not forget the claymation ones, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and my all-time favorite, which is Rudolph's Shiny New Year. But then, of course, I have to give special mention to Jim Henson's Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and you can thank me later, especially those of you with kids. This is a great movie for kids. So now we're on the 26th. On the 26th, both in the States and in Peru, we do nothing because it's just a normal day. However, in Germany, it's second Christmas, or Zweiten Weihnachten. And it's just literally another religious holiday where everything's closed and there's nothing to do but hang out with family, which is not a bad thing. At least in my case, because I like my in-laws. And I'm actually very excited for the 26th because so it's like myself, my parents, my husband, obviously, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and her family, we're going to Castle Kolmberg to have dinner. And for those of you who were at my wedding, no, that was the castle where we got married in 2016. And it's this old 1,000-year-old castle that's also a hotel and with Michelin-ranked food. And the food is so good. That's really why I'm so excited. We haven't been there since we got married, so it's going to be really awesome. I know I definitely missed some traditions, but let me know in the comments below what I missed. Maybe I can make another video, or maybe for next year. As you can see, these next 3 days of Christmas are going to be very busy. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for joining me. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up, because my dog will really like it. See, I make you really happy. You're going to be happy, puppy. Happy puppy. She's worn out. We actually went to a Christmas market earlier, so she's done. She's done for today. Leave me a comment below if you have any other questions, comments, or topics you'd like to see on this channel. Don't forget to connect with me on social media, whether it is through Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram. The God Queen is available in ebook and paperback. You know, Christmas is tomorrow. You still have time, guys. If you really need to get a book, maybe at this point it'd be digital. But that's okay. Make a good Christmas present. I promise. I have all the links for the God Queen below. Also, check out my newsletter where you will get the most up-to-date information on books, projects, pugs, and giveaways. Just for subscribing, you'll get a free character sheet to use, as well as the first 6 chapters of my debut space opera, The God Queen. And that's it for today. Until next time, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and Frohe Weihnachten.